Jazz came out of something called ragtime. Ragtime dated back to the 1890s. As was mentioned, I have spent my life interviewing people, and I got to interview some people that were involved in the early days of jazz and ragtime. One fellow by the name of U.B. Blake, he told me he started playing in 1897, ragtime. And he would play in not the best of places, let's put it that way. And that's where ragtime was played. Ragtime was like an off-time beat to music. This led in time to something called jazz. Now the problem with jazz was no one knew quite how to spell it. There were three different spellings. J-A-S, J-A-S-S, and J-A-Z-Z. Everybody had a different spelling for jazz, and it wasn't until 1919 that it was finally decided that jazz would be spelled J-A-Z-Z. And jazz, whatever you want to say it, vanished. But jazz changed the world as we know it. See, when World War I started in 1914, it was the era of calm, sedate music. By the time World War I ended, the world had changed totally. We had seen things change tremendously. The world had changed tremendously. And suddenly jazz came out. And jazz was exciting and fun, and well, it left a lot of unhappy people. One being John Philip Sousa, the March King. Marches were very popular in 1914. They were nowhere near as popular in 1919. And he got very upset about that. He started calling it canned music. And he said that jazz, being played by saxophones, is the music of the devil. And he said, where are those wonderful dances where women used to go dressed in corsets and gowns and dress around and dance around? And he said, nowadays when a woman goes to a party wearing a corset, she's called old Ironsides. And he got very upset about that. And so he battled against jazz. But John Philip Sousa was fighting a losing battle. Jazz was here to stay. And jazz revolutionized the 1920s, 1930s. Revolutionized the world, very much so, like in the 1960s, how the Beatles changed society as a whole. Now, while I'm talking about this, I'd like to let you hear an example of jazz from the 1920s. Now, all of you are of an age where an LP record is an ancient device. LP records came out 50 years after this. This is a disc record from 1925, played by Ted Lewis and his orchestra. And it's a very, very famous piece of music written by W.C. Handy called the St. Louis Blues. So I want to let you hear this, but first I have to wind this. Okay, I like to refer to this as aerobic entertainment. We should have this more. It'd be good for you. If I pass out, just... Okay. Now, the St. Louis Blues by Ted Lewis Orchestra, recorded in 1925.